And now it's time for a Q&A from you, the viewers. And our first question comes in from another Lon, in this case Lon Dog, in regards to software ownership. Now, last week we were talking about how Adobe sent out an email to people that were using old versions of their software. And Adobe said to them, we are pulling the license on this old software. You're no longer allowed to use it, even though these customers felt like they bought the software and should be able to continue using it as long as they want. Adobe said, no way, you need to stop using it now, and you might be liable for lawsuits from third parties if you continue use of that software. And that, of course, got a lot of people concerned about this new era of subscription-based software we are entering into. And Londog here brings up the point, when has a user agreement ever said you own the software? And in most cases, those agreements said you did not. So let's take a look at this Microsoft Windows XP Professional End User License Agreement. This dates back to the early 2000s. And if you read through it, you'll see that you are being granted a license even if you bought a box and a disk. And that license can be terminated. And what Microsoft can do is if they determine that you are not meeting the terms and conditions of the end user license agreement, they will require you to destroy all copies of the product and its component parts. This is back in the physical media days. Now, could they enforce this on a general consumer? Probably not. Windows XP, of course, did require activation, so they might be able to pull your activation away, but it would be very difficult for Microsoft to enforce this on anybody. But now, while we're in this subscription world where things are a little bit easier to police, those licenses can be revoked much more easily. And I think that is what we're going to start seeing a lot more of, even with just regular general consumers. And I have concerns about Steam, for example, and the Epic Game Store, where your games really only exist in digital form and can disappear whenever the host decides to get rid of them. And it's a big problem. And I think if you went back into all of your old software agreements that you never looked at, you'll probably see very similar language too across the board. What's interesting though is I went back to some of my old video games. I kept a lot of the manuals and some of the things that came with them. And I have yet to find a NES game or a Sega Genesis game that had any kind of license agreement attached to it. But I think at the end of the day, you're buying the cartridge, the physical components of it, but you were not authorized to distribute the software that was stored on it. And I think those protections, of course, were there for the companies. But it's interesting, though, just to see so much of this language for commercial software and for operating systems, but really not so much on the games. I would love to hear from all of you whether or not there's ever been any kind of end-user license agreement for older stuff. I think for everything we're doing now, you will most certainly get a EULA, and you will most certainly be told that it is not yours, you don't own it, and we're only granting you a license, and now those licenses are very easily revocable.
This channel is brought to you by the Lon.TV supporters, including gold-level supporters, the Four Guys with Quarters podcast, Tom Albrecht, Brian Parker, and Kalyan Kumar. If you want to help the channel, you can by contributing as little as $1 a month. Head over to lon.tv/support to learn more. And don't forget to subscribe. Visit lon.tv/s.